Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. Very glad you're with us today. It is April 11th, 2023. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter those into the chat window. As our speaker takes a break, we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. For those watching on Facebook, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, please just put them in the comment field and we'll get, I am monitoring that feed and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I have them available in person at a cheaper rate. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program at the end of this seminar, what we have coming up this Friday. And I'm a member of the Practice Interview Team, also known as the PIT Crew, since 2017. Remember, your LinkedIn profile and your resume aren't going to get you a job. All they do is they get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So if you want more information, just reach out to dallaspitcrew.com and I'll tell you about our upcoming program that they're having this Wednesday, tomorrow, at the end of the session. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who rotate through and tell us all about LinkedIn. Each one's a little bit different. They talk about them a little bit different point of views. They update their decks every month to sort of give us the latest, greatest of what's going on. Today, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's a career consultant. He's been in recruiting for many, many years. I'll let him tell you how many if he wants to admit to how many. And today he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. So Locke, thank you very much for being with us, and it's all yours.
Jeff, what do I do to get the screen? Okay.
There we go.
See that?
Yep, you're good.
Well, I will take that down. Well, as Jeff mentioned, my name is Locke Alderson. I've spent 42 years in industry in recruiting, had my own recruiting firm for 12 of those years. And then about 2001, I was asked by our church to start a ministry to those in job and career transition, which I did for about 12 years, and was asked by Mullen International, an outplacement firm out of New York. They just won a contract away from Right Management to take over the JP Morgan Chase account. And JP Morgan Chase was in the process of laying off about 10,000 workers. I was with them for 4 years and they renegotiated the contract, and the rates were substantially lower. So Mullen sold out to Lehigh Harrison. They laid all the Mullen consultants off in the Dallas office off, and I was picked up a month later by Lehigh Harrison. Several of the other consultants were Mullen, and the Dallas office decided not to go with Lehigh Harrison. So that's kind of my background. I still continue as a job and career consultant. I'm in a couple of groups right now. I'm going to teach on Thursday night at our church, job readiness skills for English as a second language students. One of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit more was about me personally. And there's a verse of scripture that came to mind. I'm in the process of the Bible study of studying the prophet Jeremiah. And he's a prophet of doom and gloom and judgment. But one of the verses that he has in 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And I'm reminded of that when I was laid off in California, where I came to Texas. I'd been laid off and had a wife with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and didn't have a job. Interviewed with about 19 companies. That's a lot of interviews. And only one of them said, we were interested in you, and they made me an offer to come to Texas. At the same time, I was able to share with other people how the Lord was at work in my life and opened doors for me, because our house in California sold within a week. We found a house here in one weekend. I think I looked at 36 different houses and found one we liked. It was for sale by owner, and the realtor was a little disappointed, but again, she worked with me through that process, and we moved to Texas. So that's kind of a little bit about my background and how I got here. I've been unemployed at least 5 times in my career, if I don't count all the times the contracts work that I was working on ended. But I've been a job hunter. I've been a recruiter for 40 plus years, and I've also been a career consultant. So that's kind of my background and my take on LinkedIn. I was one of the early adapters of LinkedIn, but we want to look at LinkedIn and take a look at it. Why do we want to use LinkedIn? Well, it's probably the number one recruiting source for that recruiters use to find and identify candidates. We want to take a look at your profile, because without your profile, you aren't going to get found on LinkedIn. How do you optimize it so that it meets those needs? We'll look at the different parts of your profile. And then how do recruiters actually look at profiles? How do they search LinkedIn for people? And then how do you search using job search on that? And then some homework for you. So that's kind of an overview. We have time at the end. We'll take a look at some of your profiles if you'd like, and take a look at some of you and maybe do a job hunt or job search for one or more of you today. So that's kind of an overview of what we want to talk about today. As I said, LinkedIn is the number one tool. Let me see if I can move that to the bottom. Does that help at all? If there are about 850 million people on LinkedIn, about 170 million of them here in the United States. And it's been estimated that job boards still and company websites still provide a lot of talent for companies. It's estimated that anywhere from 20 to 30% of people are actually identified off LinkedIn and other job boards. Networking is still the number one tool for finding talent. Anywhere from 40 to 80% of the jobs that you're looking for will be found by who do you know and who do they know, the introductions, if you will. But job hunting is not an individual sport, it's a team sport. So you want to rely on those, particularly those around you, your network that you have, maybe even those on the call today, because we'll probably have some that are not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And there are other job hunting groups around the country. One person has said about their LinkedIn experience, LinkedIn has been an irreplaceable tool in my job search. The ability to show employers the exact experience and skills that I have on my profile is exactly what got me the job. And I've had others that have commented the same thing. Upgrading their LinkedIn profile got them the job, got them found by people. Okay, so I want to talk about your profile. What does it consist of? Well, there's the headline, your dashboard. It's now the analytics section, I think they call it. I need to change that. Your about section, which is basically the summary. Your open to work, your experience section, your skills and endorsements, and then how do you optimize your profile. So that's kind of what we're going to take a look at. It all kind of starts with your profile. Here's a quick look at an old one of mine. You notice some things about it. There's a headshot.
Locke, we're not seeing the slides advance.
You're not seeing the slides again.
Nope. Okay, well, let me stop sharing and let you share again. Let you start sharing again. There we go.
Okay. Okay. Well, as I said, it all starts with your headline. There's a headshot from me. My wife happened to take that she was a photographer, did a little bit of commercial photography work in her career as an avocation. The background shot is a banner shot. That's a trip that we took to the Caribbean and use that as a background. Jeff has got a different one, and it's a good one as well, has his contact information on that as well. You notice my name, my actual legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr. I use the name that I'm known by, and that's how it makes it easy for people to call. I still have a chance to play around with the telemarketers when they call for John Alderson, and they ask which one, and I say, well, I've talked to John Alderson Sr., and I said, well, he's not with us. He's not been with us for 20 years now. And then they say, how about Junior? And that's me, or my son is the third. So use the name that you want to be called by. Make it easy for the recruiter. I'm working I mentioned an ESL class, job readiness, and there's someone from China. She goes by an Americanized name of Jeannie, but her Chinese name I couldn't even pronounce. And I've tried. So I said to her about her resume, be sure and put your name that you want to be called by. Make it easier on that recruiter or hiring manager to contact you. Underneath that is my headline. Underneath my name is my headline. You have about 220 characters to play with. A lot of people's profiles I look at, they may have used 40 or 50 characters in that situation. And there's some ways to beef up your headline, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. The open to work section, I'm open to work, but only to recruiters. If you notice down here on the bottom, again, the open to work section, another friend of mine that's looking for a job, he is a recruiter. He has not turned that on, but he's been out of work since November. I'm going to fuss at him a little bit because he knows how to use LinkedIn. But this open to work section allows you to list at least 5 additional job titles that you have. It covers other information, whether you want to work remote, you're willing to work hybrid, whether you are willing to work on site. But it gives that information. But recruiters take a look at your profile just like they look at resumes and spend maybe 5 to 10 seconds on it. Well, I'm going to have to do it this way, the old-fashioned way. So again, you want to complete your profile to have a complete ranking. Complete your ranking on LinkedIn, because having a ranking gets you the top status in each category as a search is conducted. And that consists of your headshot, as I mentioned, and a banner photo, a headline. What's the title of the job that you're applying for? If you don't put a job title or titles that you're looking at, it will default to the last title on your employment section. Open to work under your headline. If you're looking for a job, you definitely want to turn that on and turn it on to everybody that's looking. One of the people that I've worked with in the past said, I've got a job right now. I don't want others at my company to know I'm looking. So they may want to only open it up to recruiters, as I showed on my profile just a minute ago. The about section is now your summary. It's an overview of your career. You want to use keywords from your profession, and you don't want it to be lengthy. I would suggest limiting it to 3 or 4 lines and then breaking it up with some other kinds of text, and we'll take a look at some examples of that. Contact information. This is the #1 bugaboo that I have about a lot of profiles. I'm not able to find out how to get in touch with people. As a recruiter, you want to make it easy for them to find you, to get in touch with you. So on the first line of your about section, you want your email and your phone number. You can have it other places in your about section, but it needs to be on that top line, because only the first 2 or 3 lines of your about section show up when somebody's looking at your profile. And if you make them click through another couple of times, they may not make that effort in that case. Okay, your experience section, use the job title that's used generally in industry. If you have an unusual title, put the generally recognized title in parentheses. Like member of technical staff 3, what does that do? Is that a design engineer, electronics engineer, a software engineer? Give the actual, and also give it a short description of your duties, but also list some results. Those results give credibility to your experience. Okay, people are going to want to know, what did you do? What did you achieve? What were your accomplishments? And also use keywords. If you aren't using keywords from your profession, people are going to question whether you have expertise in your profession or not. If you're unsure what those are, take a look at some of the job posting. What are some of the requirements? Those are some of the keywords that people are looking for. Skills from your profession, likewise. Take a look at some of those things in the job posting. They'll give you some ideas. Endorsements. It used to be a big thing on LinkedIn. It's not quite as big anymore, but people can endorse you for your experience in different areas. And LinkedIn has embellished that a little bit. When you list your skills, they can show where you had use of those skills. The next area is education awards, certification, and professional development. All too many profiles that I look at simply show when somebody got their degree. They don't show what they've done to keep current technically, what they've done to keep up with their profession. So list some of those awards and certifications in professional development, the classes that you've taken, the seminars that you've attended. Certification. My son just flew to Florida 10 days ago to get a certification in one of the new editing techniques for motion graphics design. So he's going to put that on his profile, and it's already on his profile, he said, and on his resume. Recommendations. You should have at least a couple of recommendations on that, and preferably more recent ones for your most recent work experience. I know I have about 40, and I have a couple of recent ones from last year. I need to beef that up and get a couple for this year. This is, again, taking a look at my profile. This time I've got that open to work showing here. And I've listed that here, and that's going to list it to all LinkedIn members this time. That's an option that you have. But again, those are the first things that they see. Here it gives you a chance to list additional fob titles in addition to the ones that I've listed here. What are some titles that you can use? Well, unemployed and retired are honest and probably truthful, but they aren't the most positive things that you can say about yourself. And people are looking for positive things. What's the reason that they should be attracted to you? Seeking new opportunity, again, truthful and probably a little bit more descriptive that you're open to new opportunities, but it doesn't tell the reader what you're looking at, what you're looking for. VP of Finance, again, that word formally says you aren't working. And again, there's still a little bit of a stigma about not working. Again, the way to overcome that is just to omit the word VP of Finance. Experienced digital designer seeking a new opportunity. Again, adding details that make it more attractive, more appealing. Social media strategist, content manager, seeking new opportunity with print and digital media, PR. Again, some of the abbreviated terms there are something to get it on the screen. You have, as I mentioned, you have 220 characters that you get to play with in your headline. While this one is short and succinct, it's very descriptive of the individual's background, supply chain, procurement, and purchasing. You might have also added logistics, but there wasn't room on that line for it. Senior accountant, general ledger, you can use other acronyms like that, general ledger, accounts payable, AP or AR, kinds of things, cost accounting. But there are a lot of accountants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There are probably 40,000 or more people who have the word accountant in their profile. How do you differentiate yourself from them? That's what you want to do. You want to stand out a little bit. Executive assistant, the same thing. There are 40,000 of those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I say that because I helped some people when I was with Lee Heck Harrison, who were both accountants and executive assistants. And when we did searches for them, or jobs for them, that's how many people showed up on LinkedIn. Again, the impression that you want to have is very important. Project manager, idle, and the Scrum Master and are things that IT recruiters look for. They're going to tend to look further and see where you've done what those things. But those buzzwords will get people's attention. General manager, aerospace and manufacturing. Again, pretty descriptive, but a high-level individual. Again, they could have added more detail, but for my purposes, I limited it to just a one line. You can also use adverbs and adjectives with you to describe more about you. Accomplished, award-winning, certified, or some adjectives that you can work. Other titles that you can use, okay? And what value do you bring that you've specialized? Those are just some ideas that you might have. Dynamic and value-driven. Again, normally on a resume, just using words like dynamic, program manager would be not something you want to use because there's nothing to substantiate what the word that you've used. But on a LinkedIn profile, they add credibility to what you've done. Again, anybody who wants the slide deck with some of these slides that have interesting tips and techniques, just send me an email to lockealderson@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send it to you. Again, taking a look at my profile once again. This is an old profile for me when I was at Lee Heck Harrison. Okay, I tended to beef it up. I've used about 80 characters on that. I changed it up a little bit, added some of those adjectives that I mentioned here. It's a little bit stronger when you do a headline analysis. There's something called HTTPS // headlines at sharethrough.com. It will give you an evaluation of your headlines. Some more descriptive headlines that you can take a look at them. Again, some of them are short, but again, some of them creating value through effective strategies that increase sales by 40%. And want to know more about that individual, tells me something that's interested. And the Scrum Master that I mentioned, able to explain high tech to customers. I don't know, when I was with Oracle Corporation, we always looked for people who were customer facing, who could interface and explain the product to the customer. Who could also, the techies that could bridge the gap between the customer and the people in the back office, those people that you tossed the meat over the transom for, that you didn't allow to meet with a customer. Well, let's move on down your profile to the next section, the open to work section. I mentioned that. I strongly recommend that if you are looking for work and unemployed, that you do that. You can notice the different sections here. The titles that they have, you can use up to 5. All right, roll back. Executive recruiter. When I started to type in career, you notice the artificial intelligence that they allow that you can just click on any of these. Again, where do you want to work? On-site or hybrid or remote? It leaves you the function of that. Again, where am I willing to work? Well, I live in Plano, Texas, so that's where I want to work. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, would consider it. Okay, what's your status in terms of actively applying or just looking around? And then open it up to recruiters or all LinkedIn members. That's what you can do with the open to work section. If you do that, it gives you that banner around your name from about 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Looks like a garland of roses that they put on a thoroughbred winners at some of the races. The next area is your dashboard or your analytics area. The things that are interesting there, people who have looked at you, people who have looked at your post, and people who have done on your search appearance. How many times have you appeared in a search appearance, and then have they actually looked at your profile? Those are statistics that you can look at that tell you a little bit about you, what's happened to you on your LinkedIn profile. Also on your LinkedIn profile, there's a featured section. In this case, I've got the presentations that I've done. Like today's presentation, this version was back, the version that's posted here was last September. If you want, as I said, a more recent one, I've got it, and you can ask me for it at lockealderson.com. You can also put a copy of your resume, although I don't recommend that here, because the resume that you put here is not customized to the job that you may be applying for. But you can do things like including a portfolio. My son is, I mentioned, a motion graphic designer. He's got what he calls his reel or portfolio that's posted there, so people can take a look at samples of his work. So that's something. But if we click on that search appearances, what happens with that? Again, click on search appearances. Here are the keywords that those searchers use. Okay, and here's where they work. Now, in my situation, they may be looking for a recruiter to help them find a job, or they may be looking for a recruiter for their company. That's one of the double-edged swords as you have to be aware of with some positions. But others may be looking for somebody to go to work for their company. Okay, these are some of the companies that had those listings where they work. Now, they may not be looking and have an opening for somebody right now, but those are people, generally companies that have openings with your kind of background. Well, that's on the search appearances, things that you could do by just clicking on those. Let's move on down to your about section. This is a rather long one. The only reason I included it is very well written, but this one has the contact information right there on the first line. Okay, the description uses a little bit of bolding to highlight some things. Normally, I would say 4 or 5 lines, and that's what Terry Sullivan recommends that as well. And then breaks down and includes some areas of specialization. But notice there's a gap there that you go on reading. They've used an acronym like FP&A, which a lot of good recruiters, and particularly in finance and accounting, understand. But anytime that you use an acronym, it's good to spell it out the first time, like financial planning and analysis. But FP&A is a searchable term on job boards and on LinkedIn. Here's another way to take a look at some example summaries. Okay, again, this is more narrative form and with using a first person, normally not used in a resume, but it talks about their background in terms of organization development and leadership, from the key competencies that they've had and where they've worked. Okay, here's another one. I'm a strategic hands-on marketer. Other kinds of summaries that you can use. All of those are available to you, and just play around with it, see what you come up with. Moving on to the experience section, this is actually from my profile and talks about my experience at Oracle. But you want to have in your experience section the name of the company and the job title and the dates, your duties and responsibilities. Keep it short. 3 to 5 lines is a good idea because people don't read much more than that. And some bulleted areas of accomplishment. Notice I was Oracle as a senior recruiter. I have 4 lines, actually 5 lines, okay, of description. I've got a couple of bulleted accomplishments that I had when I was with Oracle. Twice I was selected as the recruiter of the quarter from among 50 recruiters, and then was selected once to go to their annual club meeting for the consulting organization of 5,000 consultants. They didn't bring all of them to the conference in Bermuda, but again, it was an honor to get selected. And when I left, I just included an email from my former boss. Amanda Gill was the director of recruiting for North America at Oracle. So that's some of the things that you can include in your profile itself. Another area that LinkedIn has added is to add sections for your current job situation, and also that you can add for profile for your projects that you've worked on. If you are currently not working, you definitely want to include a section about a profile about you're looking for work. Here's what I'm talking about with respect to that. This one allows you to put in a title. What is the title of the job that you're looking for? It's more limited to one, but you're looking for full-time work. Could have been contract or consulting type work. The kind of industry that you may be looking for in terms of a company name or maybe a specific company name. As I started to type in DA for Dallas-Fort Worth, you notice again, there's artificial intelligence, but you need to go ahead and select some of those. There's also a Dallas, Georgia and a Dallas, Oregon. You have to be careful about that. But put that in there because LinkedIn gives credit for a current position. So if you have an ending date for your last employer and it's last year, you don't get as much credit if you have a current position showing that you are a job hunter. For those of people that have worked a lot on projects, whether it's IT or systems or project management, again, you can list the project or program, the title that you had, the dates that you were in it, and the ending dates. You can add other things that you can put and what you're associated with. In my particular situation, I just mentioned that I was a program director for a professional association here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But again, adding projects, that's something LinkedIn has done to allow people to look more carefully. A lot of the resumes I looked at for IT consultants when I was with Oracle Corporation give a page or several paragraphs to describe each project they'd worked on, including all of the equipment, the hardware, the software, the systems, and their particular role on a project. Again, moving down a little bit further, your skills and endorsements. I mentioned my professional recruiter friend who has not chosen his. If you don't choose your skills and your skills that you have, LinkedIn will actually choose 3 for you, the 3 that they think are best. And that may not be the ones that you want to be chosen. But as you do that, as you can click on that, just click on journalism or things like that, it'll add to it automatically. If you try and type one in here and it's not one that LinkedIn recognized, it will say that it's not okay. It won't let you do that. But how do you do that? One of the things I mentioned was reorganizing your skills. And you do that by clicking on this little blue, the 3 dots out here. If you click on that, this is from my actual search. On mine were executive search, consulting, and talent acquisition. But if you click on that blue, on the 3 dots where the blue arrow is, it will come up and say reordering your skills and endorsements. If you hold your cursor over there, hold down and press down on your cursor on that, it will allow you to drag those up or down, and so that you can show the 3 that you want to display. These are just a listing of the endorsements that I have. Again, notice one here, even though I was 41 years in recruiting, not enough people, only 24 people recommended me or endorsed me for professional recruiting. Professional services, human resources, technical recruiting, but not professional recruiting. An executive search. So again, it's how people take a look at you, but you can arrange those according to you. And those will be the skills that people are going to look at when they show up. Again, take a look at other people. Why would I want to take a look at other people? Well, if you're not getting a lot of hits from your profile or on your profile, you want to take a look and see if you find yourself. In terms of this, I did a search for a recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. At the time I did this search, and this one's a couple of years old, there were 26,500 people that had recruiter in their profile. Generally, when I was actively recruiting for Oracle and for Lee Heck Harrison, I would show up in the first 10 screens. That's the first 100 people. Much beyond that, of those 26,000, not going to get found. People are not going to go looking further. So take a look, pop open, say Christina's profile, and this one, Leanne, and take a look at their profile. Take a look at some of the words that they have. What are some of the open to work talent? And they mentioned talent acquisition, senior recruiter, highly accomplished and dedicated talent acquisition specialist, 15 years experience. Allows you to talk about themselves. That's the kind of thing that people are looking at when they pop that open. So how about, let's move on to looking for jobs on LinkedIn. How does LinkedIn search? And how does LinkedIn actually run searches? And how to recruiter search? And what are some of the results? And then looking for jobs. So that's the next section we want to take a look at. Recruiters actually search. When you each section on your LinkedIn profile has a value, and you're given values for that, as well as the activity that you had. So if you're on LinkedIn every day, you're going to get points for that. So when a search is conducted, if you happen to be in that search, each field or each section that you're in, if you're the highest one in that, you'll rank higher in that. And the higher scores tend to be the top ones on the results. A recruiter generally look for a match of job titles in your current and past jobs, the job titles in your headline, your open to work section, and your about and employment sections. Well, that's where the places that you can list job titles. And look at keywords and skills, and look at industries that you may have worked in, and look at specific companies. And we'll take a look at one of the search results. Will show you specific companies that were included in somebody's search. And take a look at your education. I know one of the companies that I interviewed with, they were looking for a graduate from a top 10 business school in the United States. Well, I happened to get my master's in business from the University of California at Berkeley, which, depending upon whose ranking that you look at, ranks in the top 10. So those are the kind of things that people actually take a look at. And we'll look at that on some search results. What's the location? Location is important because applicants have taught recruiters and companies that they're only willing to drive, for most jobs, 20 to 25 miles to work. Now, there are some jobs where you have road warriors. They're willing to travel all over the country. I met somebody at a baby shower on Saturday, the prospective father, and he travels from Sunday night to Friday morning. Maybe he can get out Monday morning on a flight and come back on Thursday night if he's lucky, has transportation. But he travels probably this last week. I think there's only 2 weeks that he has not traveled every week. Current and prior companies that you've worked at in your length of service. Again, job hopper is a word that used to be applied. It's not quite as relevant anymore because of what's happened in the economy. People's job tenure has not been as long of late. And then recruiters look at your summary and your experience. Okay. People tend to look at it, as I say, one of the reasons the titles are so important. Recruiters prefer candidates who've done the job before. So they'll target specific job skills. Well, let's take a look now at, this is a search screen. Actually, Kurt Venemeyer uses this in his presentation. He has a license, and there are licenses available from LinkedIn for Recruiter and Recruiter Lite. The Recruiter software license, I think, runs $10,000 a year. The Recruiter Lite is $5,000 a year. But these are the fields that they can make inputs on. You notice location, job titles, companies, schools, years since graduation, things that they can talk about. So this field will take, at that time, there were 710 million in LinkedIn, and by the recruiter license has access to LinkedIn worldwide. The Recruiter Lite is just the United States. But he can narrow that 710 million down to 70 within 30 seconds, letting the recruiter do the work, and based on the fields that he has selected there. Well, let's take a look at an actual search. This one, I would probably think about the recruiter needs more training because they've limited their search to the one word, accountant in the United States. Again, that drew a result of 4,281,000. Well, that's not a very refined search over here. And that they didn't use any of these qualifiers or these filters that they could use to find people. So that's too many candidates to actually take a look at. So a better recruiter opening would be this one, where they're looking for a product manager. They would settle for a senior product manager, so more senior. They're looking in the Seattle area rather than San Francisco on the West Coast. The titles that they may have used were product marketing or product management and competitive analysis or other skills that they're looking at. They had tossed in some companies that are in the Seattle area, which is Microsoft, Amazon, and Fluke. They might have tossed in a couple others as well that are in the geographic area. They tossed in one local school up there, University of Washington. That particular search drew, there's only 6,900 candidates. One thing that's available if you follow companies, when you look at companies online, again, have taken an interest in the company. None of those have engaged in your Telegram. They're looking for information about you. So they're getting those emails daily or weekly when a company sends out public relations information. This particular situation, you notice the candidates on that situation. Taking a look at another one, this one was for a project manager in the Chicago area, but they take somebody from New York or San Francisco area. Drew a lot more results, not surprisingly, about 43,000. But only 83 of those were open to new opportunities, okay? Again, recruiters like low-hanging fruit, so they're gonna go after those probably first. Again, have company connections, In other words, you have connections in that company and you have you following your talent brand again. Again, this particular one, as I say, they're project manager, business and strategy analytics, some of the keywords that they will have used, some of the skills. They mentioned Northwestern, which is a school in the Chicago area. But companies that they identified Google, Facebook, Evernote, LinkedIn are some of the companies they've identified. So that's what recruiters actually look at, and some results that actual recruiters have actually taken. So how do you go about the process of looking for jobs? Well, you can use that search bar that's up here, that first bar, an initial search bar that's there, or you can actually click on the jobs tab, and it has two search boxes that you can use, the search jobs and search locations. Entering a title in the search jobs without entering a location, unless you've already done a couple of searches, it's going to default to the United States. If you enter a location, again, it will narrow it down quite a bit. But those are some of the things that you can do in search. Well, let's take a look at a actual search. This one was for an accountant here in Plano. Again, at the time, one of the things is the default setting on most of the job boards is for 25 miles. LinkedIn has now narrowed that down to 10. It used to be 15, but they've further refined it. So those are the jobs that are available. One of the first things that I tell you about looking for a job that I, again, encourage is look at the date posted. If it's a very popular job, it may get filled pretty quick. Like I know a friend of mine, Gail Houston, who's used to be at Intuit, prior to that EDS, she had posted for a project manager here in Plano, had 300 responses within the first hour. She took the posting down. So you may have found situations where you found a job and come back to it later and found that this job is no longer available. So you, again, date posted is one of the things that you want to take a look at, and we'll take a look at some of the other filters. Now, this job with Omnicell in Plano is actually described over here in the right half of the screen. There are other jobs. There were 144 jobs in this particular one within 25 miles of Plano. Well, let's take a look at some of those filters. This is a screenshot from an older version of LinkedIn. Again, right now, the filters will show up on the right third of the page over here. But these, I like this shot because it has all of the filters that they use. Again, the types of jobs that you can look for, most of the jobs on the job boards are going to be permanent full-time positions. Again, the thing that I do recommend is click on the past week. Again, notice that there were, in this particular situation, there were about 2,000 jobs available for a recruiter in Dallas County, but only 635 of them were in the last week. Again, because recruiter jobs tend to go quickly, again, you may want to limit it down to 24 hours. Something that LinkedIn picked up from Indeed.com was a salary filter. I was playing around with that with somebody I'm working with in a networking group, and she's looking for salaries above 150,000. So again, this narrows a job. Those jobs for recruiters narrows it down pretty quickly. The easy apply is something that you'll see on some job postings. Again, I don't recommend that unless they allow you to include a resume that you customize a little bit. Otherwise, they may take a resume that's in your about, in your featured section and apply that. Again, or they may simply take your profile and apply that, which is not customized to do that. So if the easy apply button, which is here and appears on the job posting page, again, is there. What you want to do is if they allow you to upload a resume, it's okay to do it that way, but be aware of that. Some of the other things in terms of location, I had mentioned Dallas County. Again, I probably would not be interested in positions all the way out in Irving. Although when I lived in Plano, I was commuting out to Irving for when I was with Oracle Corporation. Okay, so those are just some of the refinements that you have that you can click on when you're looking to do that. Another feature that LinkedIn offers you to do when you're on a job posting, you can create a job alert. So when you do that and you're not having to go search every day for jobs, you can select, turn a job alert on, and you can select whether you want to be notified when new jobs are available daily or weekly. And then sometime between 7 and 8 in the morning, you'll get a list of those. I still get listings for recruiters, or if I'm doing a search for somebody on LinkedIn to help them find a job, I may get listings. So I still get hospitality manager jobs in Trenton, Texas, doing a search for somebody up there in that regard. So that's something that you can do with that. Okay, wrapping up, and then we'll get to taking a look at you. We have a little bit of time left. You want to complete each section of your profile. The more complete it is, the higher the likelihood ranking when a search is conducted for somebody with your kind of background. Use the name that you want to be known by. What do people call you? Headline, list the job title or titles of the position that you're looking for. And as I said, not including one that's going to default to the title of your last job. Complete the open to work section if you're looking for work. Let people know, let them help you out, because looking for a job is a team sport. It's not an individual one. Take advantage of that and make it easy to contact you. Put your name and put your email and phone number on the first line of your about section. Company names, again, job titles and duties, again, limit those duties to 3 or 4 lines and break it up and show measurable results, the accomplishments that you have. They add credibility to your experience. The keywords are vital, and people do a people search. If you're not finding that you're getting a lot of activity, do a people search and take a look at the 10 screens. Open up the thumbnail sketches and use some of those descriptive words in your profile. Jeff, I'm going to turn it back and see if we have somebody else.
Unmute here. Here we go. So what would you like to do? You want to look at somebody's profile?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me see if I could close out this.
You just need to shrink it back down because it's like really blown up. If you would like for us to look at your profile, go ahead and just type your name in the chat window and we will take a look at your profile. Can you make that smaller, Locke, or not?
What?
What I'm currently seeing is it's really blown up really, really large. If you need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. And now make it full screen. There we go. Oh, I guess we're just looking at your picture. So that's why we need to just do there we go. Now we're at your profile.
Okay. Well, I want to show just a couple of things on mine because I can look at that. I wanted to show the about section. You notice I have my contact information at the top. But when I pop that up, those are the 3 lines that people see. Again, when you open it up, notice how I've limited that to 4 or 5 lines and then used a different type font. Those are some of the speaking engagements I've had. I've got a list of skills where I've done things, what kind of people I've recruited for. And then I've got a specialty area. Again, there's no punctuation here. This is just multiple uses of the same word that are going to appear in somebody's search. The about section, the activity. Wanted to show some of that. Those are some of the things, and some of the times you can have multiple jobs. I have my volunteer experience. When LinkedIn has a section for volunteers, I've got it in here. Meg is a group that I work with as a volunteer. Alderson and Associates is a dormant corporation that I've had to do search and consulting. Briscoe Career Transition Workshop. The last one we did, I think, was 2020. Again, I need to alter that and update. Lee Eric Harrison, my experience there. The reason I do that, my Oracle experience, notice how I have a little bit more descriptive. These are some of the things, the ways that you could describe things. Here are some accomplishments when I was with Mullen International. Okay, here's something that I did, a presentation of ways, what really happens to your resume as a presentation. Here's my Oracle experience. I wanted to show this for a simple reason. Notice that there's this arrow down the side, this bar down the side. That's simply because Oracle purchased Siebel. And so my Siebel experience is linked to my Oracle experience. The skills area that I mentioned, I have to go back to the top. If I close the skills experience section.
Yeah, just click on that little arrow. There we go.
Okay, the skills experience that I mentioned here, I click the edit button and I want to show that because those are the 3 arrows that I mentioned, and clicking on that, reorder that. I can take that and drag that to the top. So it moves those around. You could do that. So you can put the ones that you want on that. Okay. Let's take a look at somebody's profile that maybe wanted to volunteer.
All right. Anybody like us to look at your profile? Going once. Let's see. We got a question here. Joseph said, I used to receive notifications when that would something linked up with job changes and got promotions. I no longer receive those notices. How do I turn this back on?
That's a good question, and I don't think I can answer that one. So,
Okay, I mean, I would go through, my recommendation is go through your settings, go through your
settings, go through your settings.
Check every one of your settings, because LinkedIn is constantly changing settings, or, adding new features. And when you do that, sometimes things get turned on and off. So just go into your settings and check that out. All right, Vicki Kane said we can look at her profile.
Who?
Vicki, Vicki. Last name Kane, Cain.
Is this one Vicki? The first one?
Yes, that's me.
Okay. So I'm looking at her whole profile. One of the things that I'll do is to follow. This is one of those things that I mentioned before. We have 56 connections. This is her background. Okay, she's done some kind of a picture on that to tell a little bit more about who she is. She's got this, she's open to work and open to work section. Okay. One thing.
One of the things I want to just point out right here, I'll go ahead and do that first.
First thing I'm going to notice, I have no way of getting in touch with Vicki. Okay. She has not opened up her contacts, and that's okay. For privacy setting, that's okay. She may want to not open up her privacy settings to everybody to see her contact information. But the next thing that I want to do is to take a look at her about section. And she has her email address. Well, I can at least get hold of her now that way. Okay. Again, I do recommend that you don't have to put your name, but put your email and address and your phone number to get hold of. Usually it's a good idea to put a cell phone number that's there. Okay. To do that again, but this is not a very long description in your about section. You have 2,000 characters there, Vicki, and you've used about 60, maybe 80 with the 3 lines. Okay, this is basically, you can summarize what you're looking for and take a look at some of those others. The experience that she has
Actually, it's a lot longer than that on my about section.
Well, it's not.
Well, it's possible because you're not connected that we're not seeing everything.
That's right. I may not be able to see it because only the first 3 lines I mentioned may only see the 3 lines. So I have a way to contact her. Okay. Again, she has a position that she's currently looking for a new job, okay, which I do recommend. Because her last job, if she put it here, that's not going to be as much credit when you do that. Okay, she's taken at least one class through LinkedIn. They offer some classes down in certification for credentials.
One of the things I want to point out, if you go back up to the top there, Vicki has set her profile up to creator mode, meaning that it defaults to follow instead of, if you click on the more button there, click on more. That's how you can connect with Vicki. But
yeah. Now this is a blue connect button because it allows me to add her a note.
Right.
Okay? If it's a white button that has connect, you want to click and get the blue connect button so that with white lettering so that you can have a note. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, okay, let's connect.
All right. But Vicki, I would recommend you change your mode from creator mode to connection mode, because you want to make connections. You want people to easily be able to connect with you. Instead of it saying follow, you want it to say connect. So I would recommend changing that. I think people have been duped into that little mode. If you've got LinkedIn only allows 30,000 connections. So if you're at 25,000 connections and you want more people to follow you, great. But I would highly recommend, if you're in job search, you want people to connect with you and you want to make it easy for people, so you can change that over.
The other thing I'll mention for you, Vicki, while you have 5 titles down here on the open to work section, you want more job titles up here in your headline, because that's going to give you credit. Search for help your customers. Well, customer is not a job title. Okay. Your platform. Yes, these things are true. Technical wizard. I've never searched for a technical wizard. Okay. You want to make terms that relationship manager. maybe as a recruiter, I've used that kind of a term. Those are the kind of things that you want to have. Make it easy for the recruiter to match the terms. This is near, you can talk more about that in your about section, about the, I help customers do these kinds of things. Okay, but this is a section that's valuable real estate. Who do you want to be known by? Okay.
This is the most searchable category when LinkedIn searches. People put in job titles, and this is where they go first before they go any other place.
Now, that's the first thing that they see. You have 220 characters there to play with. You've used probably 120. You have at least another line and a half that you can play with.
Yeah.
What kind of a job do you want to look for? Vicki,
Yes,
what kind of a job?
customer success manager.
Here we go. Second,
Okay. It has some artificial intelligence. Now, what did it do? Because I didn't put in a location, it defaulted to the United States. So let's go up here and change that to,
Vicki, where do you live?
Dallas, Fort Worth.
Okay, just want to make sure, because I know we've got people from other parts of the area on the call.
what did I say? The first thing I want to do, the first filter, there were 70,000 jobs. It didn't like that. Took it down to 4,000 jobs. One of the first things that you probably want to do on that is past week. And it took it down, probably eliminated about 60% of those, maybe 70% of those jobs. Again, the other things that you can do, because Vicki's kind of experienced, is come over here to the experience section. Remember, I mentioned this is the first on the right side of the page. She can choose any of these things that she wants, the titles. So you can search by application. Okay. Well, let's say that you're looking for jobs at 100K or more. It took that 1,200 down to 23. Okay. Well, that's just a way to filter some of those that you've done. Okay. Does that help a little bit, Vicki? Okay.
Yes, just one question. There's another LinkedIn guru who recommended only put one title, which is what I did, up in the headliner. So because they said it's confusing if you add more than one.
No, it's not. Well, it's confusing to who? You're trying to get through the computer.
Okay.
So
Yeah, this is all about matching. This is all about matching. This is an
More things
ATS
that they
system.
have.
You want people to find you.
yeah,
Okay.
let's take a look at somebody else, Jeff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see. Somebody else said, okay. Yeah, Joseph's. All right, Joseph.
Right, it's Joseph Scarfo. You spell that like a scarf around your neck with an O on the end.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in the jobs section. So one of the things I'm going to have to do is quickly click on the down arrow. And since
Whoop. You keep zooming in here on us. There we go.
I think I spelled that right.
Joseph Scarfo, that's correct. That's me.
Okay, so view full profile.
Well, the reason I asked you to take a look at mine is I could not find a section where I can change the configuration of my file so that I'm seeing these LinkedIn announcements like Bob got a new job, Billy got a new promotion. Because
Right.
these are things that these people have to initiate on their own, because LinkedIn doesn't automatically do this. And I can't
It's gonna be
find where to
over-
set that switch.
It's going to be over here in your sections area. I mean, your selection, I mean, I can't remember what the title is over there, but.
Well, you
there's a-
want to click on me, go click on me for a second. Locke. Click on me and then go down here
Settings.
to manage post and it'll be settings and privacy, I believe.
Ah, there we go. Okay, now I know where it is.
Yeah. And just,
Okay.
I would go through every one of those because like I said, they keep changing it, they keep updating, and just check the different preferences.
Okay, this shows all the things that you can check on that.
Yeah, very bottom one, notifications over there on the left. So,
Postings and commenting. Okay, I'll go through this. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Well, we've only got a couple minutes here.
Well, let's see, if he wanted to take a quick peek at his profile, we can do that too.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. And I'm taking a look at that. Again, we're second degree connections. Okay.
One of the things I would do is I would zoom out on your face a little bit. Because that banner's on there, it's made it very hard for me to
Yeah.
see.
You
know.
need a new headshot that's a little bit further back. The camera's a little bit further back.
Yeah,
On
and you
his
may be able
profile.
to, you
On
may
his
be able to
profile.
use the LinkedIn program to zoom that back out on.
okay.
Notice on his, when I click on his, because he's a second degree connection, I only have his LinkedIn profile URL. So again, it's hard to get in touch with him. Well, the only other thing that I could do is to take a look at his about section, and it's not there either. So if I were looking for you as a project manager, how am I going to get hold of you?
You know, I'm not quite sure how that would work, but I get contacted a couple of times a day on LinkedIn from recruiters.
Well,
They
recruiters
may have taken the license, they may have the software license with LinkedIn,
Okay,
but not all recruiters pay for that license, that $5,000 a year or $10,000 a year. Not everybody's going to look at that. So you want your about section, this first line right up there, reach out to me or contact me at. Okay.
okay,
That's because I can't, it appears LinkedIn has limited us to be able to look at your profile in your about section. They've limited that to those 3 lines that you see right there. So
You know what, Locke, I'm looking at LinkedIn on I'm looking using my login, looking at Joseph's profile. I get to see more.
Okay,
So it could be something. It could be a whatever you.
I may not have the late, and LinkedIn rolls out some of their changes. They roll them out in batches to people. With 800 million people, they don't roll them out all at the same time.
Right.
Okay. We have time for one more, Jeff?
No, we're at the top of the
Okay.
hour, so let's
Top of
just
the
stop
hour.
here.
As I say, if anybody's interested in the presentation, and I have other sections of it, the other presenters on LinkedIn cover some of how do you get in touch with people for networking. That's section 4. When I send you the slide deck, it will be there, but there's my email address. If you want a copy of the slides, I'll be happy to send it to you. And it has that other section, but I've cut out the networking part of it because Ruth Lipsky and Terry and Kurt all do great presentation, and Jeff does a pretty good presentation too. So he's the host, but I'll tout his. If you haven't read his book, it's definitely worth a quick read.
Thank you, Locke. All right, Locke, thank you very much for your time, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let me just share a few slides. We'll get out of here today. I need everybody, if you will, please raise your right hand. I have the LinkedIn promise. I need everybody to repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Whenever you see a white connect button, don't click on it. X, don't click on it. You want to always click on a blue connect button because the blue connect button will allow you to send a personal note. If you see a white connect button, click on the person's face. It'll take you to their profile, and there you should be able to find the blue connect button, or if they're under the follow mode, under creator mode, just go to more and you'll be able to find their connection there. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the practice interview team, you'll be able to watch an actual practice interview by the pit crew. It will only be on Zoom. It will not be on Facebook. You will not be able to watch it after the event. So if you want to watch an actual practice interview tomorrow on Zoom, you'll be able to do so. Come and join us tomorrow, 1 p.m.
All I could say is about the pit crew, if you haven't participated or just have been an observer, you need to do it. I learned a lot, even though I'd been a recruiter for 41 years. I was on the pit crew as one of the interviewers for about 1.5 years before my schedule just booked up and I didn't have the time for that. But they prepare excellent questions to ask you that you'll be actually probably tougher interview than you'll have when you're face to face with somebody.
Right. And the pit crew is actually meeting in person on the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays, but the 2nd, 4th, and 5th Wednesdays, we're meeting online to allow those people around the country to be able to watch an actual practice interview. So come join us tomorrow. It'll be a good interview. This Thursday, Networking Thursday, the 2nd Thursday of the month, we're going to talk, Charlie Zinger will be with us to talk about networking tips and techniques. And then this Friday morning at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, I'll be presenting my top 10 tips for job search. I used to call it Jeff's top 10 pet peeves of what I see you do when you're trying to do a job search, but I made it a little bit more positive. So it's Jeff's top 10 tips for job search. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. I just happened to start it when I started the Career DFW website. We've got over 14,700 members. And I will tell you this, that probably 1 out of 15 people in that group, they work in HR or they're in recruiting, and they're joining this group because they're trying to find you. And if your profile is complete, they're probably being able to connect with you. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. We've got over 480 videos there. But if you click on playlist and then down below, pick whatever playlist you want. There's one of 7 different playlists. Click where it says view full playlist, and up will come a list of all the different dates in chronological order and the speaker and the topic and the title. So you're welcome to then scroll down. You can watch any of these at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, send an email to Career USA, the +subscribe@groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the email of the day, the topic of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can just open up the email, click on the Zoom link, and join us when we get started. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers is a volunteer, Locke's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Locke, once again, thank you very, very much. And we will see everybody hopefully later in the week.